Make no mistake, this is the biggest challenge the Tesla Model Y has ever faced in Australia. It's the Kia EV5, an all-new and all-electric mid-size SUV that the Korean brand thinks will soon become its biggest seller in Australia. Oh, and did I mention it's cheaper than the Tesla too? And not just by a little bit. So, is this the car that will finally put an end to Tesla's winning ways in Australia? Let's go find out.
The cheapest EV5, the Air, arrives in two guises. There's the standard range or the long range, and the former is something of a bargain. It's the only EV5 to get effectively free drive-away pricing, and Kia is asking $56,770 on the road. That puts it well below the Tesla Model Y. As of right now, the single-motor Tesla is $60,868 on the road in New South Wales. Next up is the Air Long Range, which lists at $61,170 before on roads. The EV5 Earth occupies the middle rung at $64,770 before on roads, while the yet-to-arrive flagship, the GT line, is a considerable $71,770 before on roads. Air models get 18-inch alloys, LED lighting all around, roof racks and power mirrors, while inside there are cloth and faux leather seats with a massage function for the driver, along with the faux leather steering wheel and LED interior lighting. Tech is covered by twin 12.3-inch screens with a smaller 5-inch climate screen sandwiched between the two, and there's inbuilt nav, a 6-speaker stereo, and Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The Earth then adds 19-inch alloys, gloss black exterior design flourishes and privacy glass, while inside the seats are now entirely faux leather. You get a second V2L connection, or vehicle to load, as well as a powered tailgate. Finally, the GT line gets pretty much everything Kia could throw at it, including 20-inch alloys, auto flush door handles, a panoramic sunroof, two-tone seats which are now billed as premium relaxation seats, wireless phone charging, fingerprint recognition, a heated steering wheel, and an augmented reality head-up display. There's also Kia Connect and over-the-air updates available across the range.
If you're familiar with any of Kia's more recent EV designs, and specifically the EV9, then you'll know the EV5, which looks like a shrunken down version of that big and boxy four-wheel drive. But this one, it's a little bit smaller, a little bit more familiar looking, and maybe a little bit more accessible than that hyper-modern four-wheel drive that is the EV9. Honestly, it looks like a modern mid-size SUV that could be powered by anything. There are a couple of elements of the EV5 design that I do really like though, and one of them is the combination of rounded edges and sharp angles, which just somehow work really nicely together. And I'm a particular fan of this hyper-modern LED light treatment up front. It just gives it a really cool and unique signature, especially at night. Inside, it is another story of familiarity with a clean, high-tech cabin and Kia's twin-screen setup, although it's really more of a triple-screen setup now with this climate monitor wedged between the infotainment screen and the driver display. Now, it all looks really lovely, but some of the materials don't exactly melt under the touch, which kind of gives the EV5's cabin something of a hard edge, which I don't really love. That said, I do love the inclusion of at least some physical buttons, so you're not always pouring through the screen to try to get the car to do things for you. Now, one more little design quirk. I know this looks a bit like a bench front seat from the old school days, but in fact, Kia says it's little more than a design flourish. However, it is somewhere safe to pop your phone or wallet when you're driving, knowing that they won't roll around. The Kia EV5 is roughly the same size as the Tesla Model Y, so if you've ever sat in the back of a Tesla, you'll have a fair idea of what to expect here. I'm sitting behind my own 175cm driving position. As you can see, I've got miles of knee room, a ton of headroom, and because there's no bulky tunnel here, you can actually fit 3 adults in the back here, and I reckon pretty comfortably. Now, there are a couple of design flourishes that I really like though, the first of which, of course, is cup holders in the pull-down divider. That's not that unusual, but I do love the positioning of these charge ports in the rear seats. They're just above the seat back pockets, so you can pop your phone in there, tuck your cable away. It's just a really nice and neat solution. I also like this kind of weird plastic storage bin here. Now, in these cars and the Air, it's just a storage space for whatever you might need, but in the GT line, it's both heated and cooled, which means you can keep your drinks cold and your pies hot while you're on the move. The EV5 might be an all-electric vehicle, but it's still a mid-size SUV, which means there are certain boxes it has to tick to be taken seriously. One of them, of course, is storage. So up the front, there's 67 litres in the fruit or frunk, while at the back here, there's 513 litres of storage space. That's with the seats in place. Obviously, it grows if you fold them flat. But it's also a hugely customisable space. For a start, there is heaps of underfloor storage under both of these panels. There's also vehicle to load, which is like a household power point, so you can run things off the vehicle's battery. And even these luggage points are adjustable. You can move them as you see fit. So all in all, a pretty clever space.
The entry-level EV5 Air is available in standard range or long range, and both are powered by a single front-mounted electric motor, producing 160 kilowatts and 310 newton meters. The standard range will clip 100 kilometers an hour in 8.5 seconds, while the extra weight of the bigger battery slows down the sprint in the long range, which takes around 8.9 seconds. The Earth is a twin-motor all-wheel drive offering with a motor at each axle, lifting outputs to 230 kilowatts and 480 newton meters, and dropping the sprint to a brisk feeling 6.1 seconds, and the incoming GT line gets that same powertrain. The Air Standard Range gets a 64.2 kilowatt-hour lithium iron phosphate battery, weighing in at a hefty 428 kilograms, and it delivers a claimed driving range of 400 k's. The long range, the Earth, and the incoming GT line all share the same 88.1 kilowatt-hour battery, upping the range to 555 kilometers, 500 kilometers, and 470 kilometers, respectively. So if driving range is at the very top of your must-have list, the Air Long Range is the car for you. All cars can take 7 kilowatt home AC charging, while the dual motor versions are set up for 11 kilowatt AC charging. When it comes to fast charging, all models can plug into a 350 kilowatt charger, taking them 10 to 80% in less than 40 minutes.
So I am starting this driving section sat perfectly still for a reason. You know, you keep reading all those stories about EVs that hit 100 kilometers an hour in 2.5 seconds, 2.9, 3.3, whatever. Well, I'm here to tell you that you just don't need it. If you put your foot down in this EV5, you just go. That's 70, 80, 90, and 100 heading uphill. So this one, the Earth, is actually the fastest of the EV5 family, faster even than the GT line, which is a bit heavier. And it'll hit 100 kilometers an hour in 6.1 seconds. And that feels like plenty in a car in this category. If you put your foot down at a red light, you will leave others in your wake. And I just don't think you need any more power than this. There are a couple of quirks to the drive experience though, and the first is that I just find the steering sort of artificially heavy for no reason, which gets tiresome after a while, and it kind of combines with the active lane keeping, which is fighting you occasionally to keep you in the center of the lane. It's also a little bit louder in here at times than I was expecting too, certainly on the wrong road surfaces, but even now at 105 kilometers an hour, there's just a little bit of wind noise in the cabin that you can't help but notice too. But those are just quirks rather than deal breakers, because the EV5 does serve up really a pretty positive drive experience. Even on the tight and twisty stuff, there's plenty of grip. The car feels stable and sorted and flat, which is always nice and refreshing, especially in an SUV that weighs as much as this one does. But really, it's just a comfortable, familiar experience. There's nothing too futuristic or weird about driving an EV. Feels like you're driving really any other ICE car, only without annoying engine revving and gearbox shifting. Honestly, it does feel like Kia is setting benchmarks in the EV spaces in a lot of ways. The EV6 GT is a fantastic driver's car, and this, I've got to say, is a fantastic family car. It's smooth, comfortable, there's plenty of space, and in the right trim level, plenty of range. There's really not too many negatives in the other column.
Every EV5 gets a comprehensive safety offering, including advanced AEB that includes junction crossing, lane oncoming, and lane change. There's rear cross traffic alerts, semi-autonomous highway cruising, and a whole heap more too. If you want a blind spot monitor, surround view monitor, and remote park assist, you'll need to spring for the GT line. And the entire EV5 range is yet to be crash tested, but you can bet Kia will be shooting for the maximum. The EV5 is covered by Kia's 7-year unlimited kilometre warranty, and you can prepay your servicing costs too at the point of purchase. 3 years will set you back $980, 5 years is $1,535, and the full 7 years will set you back $2,431.
So the size is right, the price is right, and the drive is right. Three things that make the Kia EV5 a pretty formidable foe, and the kind of vehicle that might finally be able to break through the wall of the temple of Tesla in Australia. Now, to read my full review on the EV5, all of its rivals, thousands of other cars, including ICE and EVs, check out carsguide.com.au.